Live, yeah. Live, yeah, live. So, hello, my precious little raviolis. Oh man, yeah. It is wow. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here and it is cold and dark outside. I don't know exactly how cold, but it's been like in the 20s. I'm gonna check the weather. I know I should have done this before. I got on the film, man. I got on the video. What film? I haven't shot anything on film in like decades. Oh, let's see. It's 29 now. Is going to get up to 44, but there's a winter weather advisory. What are they talking about? Let's see. I see Dauphin County is included. Light freezing rain is expected Saturday morning. Well, until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Well, I'm not going out anytime soon, so I'm probably going to stay in all day today. Yeah. Yeah, I'm being goofy this morning. Yeah, it's been an interesting week. So interesting, in fact, I can't remember what the hell I did Tuesday. I was sitting here trying to remember it, and I can't remember what I did Tuesday. You know, days just sort of like, I don't know, they just sort of like flow together. They do. You just kind of lose track of time. But had trivia night on Monday, and we came from behind and got second. Yeah, got second. Came from behind. I mean, there was at one point we were like fifth or sixth, and we pulled it out. Last few rounds, we just like ran the table almost a couple of times. I think we got like out of 16 out of 26 questions, I think we got like 3 wrong. So yeah. And Tuesday night, I can't remember what the hell I did. Wasn't important if I can't remember. Wednesday, I spent a lot of time just sitting around. I've actually been binging a couple of animated shows on Netflix. Yesterday and late Thanksgiving, I binged the new She-Ra, and I loved it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize. I did love it. It really is good. I was never a huge fan of the first one, but I did like this one. And I know a lot of people are bitching about it because it's like, oh my God, the designs look so funky and stuff like that. And yeah, they're all upset that she's not like got gigantic boobs out to here and a real thin waist. Because I think in this cartoon, in this animated feature, she's like 15 or 16, which, if you know the history behind the original one, she was 15 or 16 in the original one too. So, even though you got like the body of a 30-year-old Playboy bunny model, it's still a 16-year-old girl. And if you're choosing that for your waifu, and some of you know what a waifu is, if that's your waifu, you need to rethink your life choices. You do. But no, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was pretty cool. It was updated, and there were some really funny, interesting moments in it. And there were some really good moments in it, and I loved it. I recommend it. Some of you probably won't. It is actually aimed more towards kids than it is toward adults like me. But I still loved it because I remember the original and I wanted to see it, and it was good. And based on the recommendations of a couple of friends, I was binging Big Mouth 2 seasons. And that's also on Netflix. And it's an animated feature. And it's about kids going through puberty. And, you know me, I liked puberty so much I went through it twice. I did. Yeah. I went through puberty twice. From both sides. Yeah, baby. So yeah. It's good. A lot of it is actually kind of semi-autobiographical because the two main creators of the show have stated that a lot of the stuff that happens to the kids in the show actually happened to them, um, which is kind of embarrassing. But it's real frank. I mean, they talk about the changes your body goes through, hormonal shit that happens to you, masturbation. They even like kind of show people masturbating. Um, how it happens. Let's be honest. When you were young, most of you masturbated. You may not want to admit it, but you did. Yeah. And the kids that are going through puberty tend to get hormone monsters because we all know how much fun hormones are and what they did to us. And Jessie, the girl, who actually, in the second episode, she gets her period when they go to the Statue of Liberty, which, according to one of the creators of the show, actually happened with his class when they went on a class trip to the Statue of Liberty, and one girl got her period, her first one. So she gets a hormone monstrous, Connie. And I love Connie. She's voiced by Maya Rudolph, who just like has so much fun with the character. So when you heard me say, "Hello, my tasty little raviolis," at the beginning, that's how she introduces herself to Connie. I mean, to Jessie. She's like, "Hello, my tasty little ravioli." And she has some of the best lines. She's a demoness of sorts, but she's a really sexy demon who smells real good because I'll never use deodorant and I only take bubble baths. Yeah, bubble baths. Bubble baths. I would recommend watching it. It is good. It is real good. You may not be in love with the character designs because character designs can be a little weird, but still, it's a frank show. And like they even make inline jokes about the fact that they're on Netflix. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they even make jokes. It's like, why did you show that? Well, Netflix made us put it in. So it's like they're very self-aware of the fact that, yeah, we're really part of a Netflix show. We're really a Netflix show. So yeah, you'll like it. If you can, I found there were some parts of it I was just laughing my butt off because I'm sitting there going, yeah, I went through that. Especially with the hormone monstrous. Yeah. Every once in a while, I think Connie, the hormone monstrous, is with me. And as I was reminded Thursday night by a friend of mine, and I tend to agree with that, because my hormones, I took some hits, ups and downs this week. I really did. So, but yeah, I'd watch those. Other than that, I've actually been watching some old movies. I watched Clute last night, the first movie where Jane Fonda won Best Actress. And I had never seen it before. I mean, that movie's been around since like 1970 or 71. And I had never seen the movie before. And I watched it last night. And it's really interesting to go back and watch some of these films from like 1970 because they are done so differently back then. They really are. Jesus. And just to look at, the 1970s fashions, the women's fashions. So it's like, what I wouldn't have given to wear some of that stuff. I mean, seriously. I probably would have looked like a sack of lumpy potatoes, but I still would have worn it. Yeah, it was fun. there was some other films. There was a couple of other older movies I was watching too. And now I can't remember. Yeah, it's just the way my brain has been going of late. You can't remember stuff. So, yeah. Oh, I watched Teeth, which is about a girl who discovers she has vagina detentia or something like that. It's basically she's got teeth in her vagina. And all the dudes who were getting rapey with her, well, you know what happened. Yeah, one friend of mine said she actually watched this with a group of dudes who got real uncomfortable as it was going on, and she said, "Yeah, they got real uncomfortable with the film," and it is. And the director of the film, who also actually wrote it, he said nowadays, if he was to have actually done that movie, there were several scenes that he would have changed. He says they just don't work nowadays, including one where the main character, she basically gets date raped. And it's almost treated like it's not that big of a deal. And he said, when you watch that film, it does make you uncomfortable to watch it today. Because it's kind of shot from the dude's perspective of, oh yeah, don't worry, I'm just kind of loosening you up because you really do need this, and I really do care for you and stuff like that. And the girl's like, oh, okay. Whereas, nowadays, it's date rape, man. Seriously. But, the dude gets his comeuppance at some point, so. Yeah. It's a crazy film. It's crazy as shit, but it's also disturbing in a few places. Yeah. So, watching movies, watching cartoons, animation, not cartoons, animation, animated features. Yeah. And not a whole lot in terms of writing. This week, I haven't even really been doing any editing. I took it easy because, Thanksgiving holiday and stuff, and I was trying to not go out, not do much, stuff like that. Thought about some things I wanted to work on, but just never got around to it. I've been kind of languishing in terms of writing, and I'm sort of waiting for NaNoWriMo to get over because I wanted to get together with one of my friends. She says she wants to talk to me about my writing, and really I'm waiting for her to finish NaNoWriMo before that happens. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping she's kind of interested in maybe wanting to help me out get published. Yeah. So we'll talk about that. And speaking of helping out, for those of you who donated to my coffee, and I know who you are, thank you so much. It did help me get through a stretch. I mean, I still don't have a lot of money in my savings account, but someone did approach me the other day, and they said that they would actually forward me about $3,000 to use toward paying bills, and it will help me get through the next 2 or 3 months if I take it real easy. I said right now it's looking like, if I still haven't heard back on the one mental health job that I applied for and interviewed for, and I'm hoping I hear something next week. I'm thinking maybe they were just waiting until after the holidays, and then they'll notify me next week, and maybe I can start like the first week in December. If that don't work, I'm going to start applying for aid. And my goal right now is to kind of try to make it until my 62nd birthday. I mean, if it looks like I'm not going to get any kind of work whatsoever, I'm going to file for Social Security in February, because you have to file like 4 months ahead of time, 4 or 5 months. So I'm going to file for Social Security so that when I turn 62, I can start collecting. And at my age, like I said, I think I collect like $2,000 a month. By the time you pay taxes on it, it's like $1,600 a month. And if I'm getting aid, yeah, I can probably get by on that easily. So I don't do a lot. My car's paid for. All I gotta do is pay for like insurance and internet and stuff like that. So, but thank you everyone who has helped me. And if you still want to, floor must be giving way. If you still want to kick a couple of bucks toward the kitty, you're more than welcome to do so. I would appreciate it. So thank you for helping me out. It is still a tough time right now for me, but I did manage to go out and get enough food that it lasted me through half the previous week and all of this week, and probably through all of next week as well. So we'll see. I probably will go out near the end of next week to get probably like stock up on 3 or 4 weeks worth of groceries. I mean, right now is the crazy season. You don't want to be going out that much. I'm actually getting to the point where it's like some of the 24-hour stores, like Giant is open for 24 hours. I'm thinking about going shopping at like, 11 o'clock at night to pick up shit. Because during the day, it's just insane. Yeah. Actually, I picked up a bunch of stuff last Sunday is when I picked up. So yeah, it got me through this week. It'll get me through next week. I got plenty, so I'm good. I'm good for now. But yeah, like I said, this next week I should end up with about $3,500 more in my checking account, and I'm going to ride on that. I've been getting calls from creditors about my credit cards, and I think I might have to find me a lawyer who's going to work for pro bono. Say, look, I got to file for bankruptcy. I got to get these assholes off my back because I've been out of work for a year, and I just can't keep doing this. So, yeah, baby. That's how it goes. You just do what you want, but really, I do want to get back into writing, but I just haven't had the urge. With everything else that's been going on, it's been difficult to focus on it. So I think it's just when I come right down to it, it's getting harder and harder for me to sit at the typewriter and work on stuff. And I think it's because I do right now spend so much time inside and I want to get out, but I can't. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with me. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm just burned out. Maybe I'm at that point where I'm like, maybe I need people to start seeing. I need to do something to get it out there so people can see it. So I don't know. I got to work through it. It's like anything else. Writer's block tends to be you just can't get yourself motivated. That's really what it comes down to. And I'm finding it difficult to get motivated to write. Some of it is just a lot of the psychological issues I'm dealing with today. And I just I can't do this. I went through this before. But this is the longest stretch I've had for a while. It's been going on nearly 6 months now. So we'll see. I got to do something. I miss my kids. Yeah, they're still my kids. My kids. Yeah. What are you going to do? Well, Derby. That's what I can do. There was I've only had one practice this week, because of the holidays, but it was a good practice. Yeah. I'm finally starting to get to the point where we're going into the basics of hitting, which I already kind of know the basics of hitting because, well, I've hit. But I'm relearning it from their point of view, DDR's point of view, which is something I need to do. Sometimes you have to do that because each league has their own way of doing stuff. So sometimes you have to kind of like unlearn what you did prior to coming in and relearn it. Like one of the things that we were talking about was when we're skating our 27.5, we actually did 1 minute of time skating, which is something we need to do to pass. And I think, we were supposed to skate at least 5 laps in 1 minute, which is something you kind of have to do if you're doing a 27.5. You actually have to skate more than 5 laps in 1 minute, but I'll get to that in a second. And our coach said, make sure you stay in bounds. And so I asked her, I said, hey, wait a minute, I got a question. Because I said, at my last league, my other coach, she said, when you're skating your 27.5, it's okay to skate out of bounds when you're on the straights. And I said, I have been doing that. And I said, is that something I need to be aware of here? And she was like, well, if the rules say you have to stay on the track, so, don't do that. And I said, okay, I need to know that so that if I'm doing a legit 27.5 and I skate out of bounds, I don't want somebody saying, oh, whoa, you just went out of bounds. You're disqualified. I don't want that. So I'm striving to stay in bounds now, mostly because I was coming off the turns with so much speed that I was just letting it carry me all the way off the track. And I wouldn't go far out. But, a couple of feet out of bounds is a couple of feet out of bounds. And when you're in a bout, if you skate out of bounds deliberately, that's a penalty. You will get sent to the penalty box for deliberately skating out of bounds because you're deliberately taking yourself out of play is what's happening. So I said, okay. So when we did our 1 minute of time skating, I made certain I stayed in bounds the whole time. And how did I do on that 1 minute of time skating? I did 5.5 laps. Yeah, I mean, I was moving. I wasn't doing crossovers the whole way. Probably, I don't know, 2/3 of the way, maybe half. There was definitely some coasting in the turns. But there was also where I was crossing over. A lot of times I'd go into the turn. I would coast into the turn and then push out with a crossover real hard to get going again. And really, when you're doing your 27.5, you should be like hitting those crossovers almost the entire time. Really, you should, because then you're maintaining a constant speed. And when you coast, you lose speed because of friction. So 5.5 laps, which is the first time I've ever done that. And what do you need to do a 27.5? Each minute of skating, you need to skate 5.4 laps. 5.4 laps, just a little over 5 1/3 laps each minute. It's essentially you've got to go 70 feet beyond wherever it was you started. I figured it out because of course I did. I figured it out because of course I did. So if you're doing 5.5 laps, which is actually about 20 feet further beyond where you're going, because you're actually going 90 feet. When it's 5.5 laps, you're actually going 90 feet beyond where you started. If you're doing 5.5 laps every minute, that's 27.5 laps after 5. So that actually gives you about, if you're looking at it the right way, it gives you about a 5 to 6 second cushion. Depending on how fast you're going, it gives you about a 5 to 6 second cushion. And most of the people who pass their 27.5 are doing it, within that 450 to 459 part. I have seen people do it in the 440s. I saw one of our jammers, actually, she skated 27.5 and this was on hard. She skated a 27.5 in 436. I mean, she was that fast. I actually was told by someone on hard that they had someone who tried out for hard as a freshie, and she had played roller hockey on blades, and she actually did 27 laps in 4 minutes, which that is insane. That's 8 seconds a lap. On quads, I cannot imagine going that fast. I really can't. I think it's even faster than that, because I know a couple of people who actually have done 32 to 33 laps in 5 minutes, and that does work out to about 8 seconds a lap, or 9, between 8 and 9 seconds a lap. And when you're doing your 27.5, you really need to be right at around 11 seconds a lap, or even just a touch faster. My friend Unchained, when she did hers, because I timed it, she was actually hitting in the 1050s, low to mid 1050s, high 1040s the whole way. So, and she ended up with a 453. So she had that 7 second, she had that 7 second cushion. Yeah. So that's really, I know now I can get a great push off and do my first lap in under 11.5 seconds, which is really what's needed. To get that. And then once you get up to speed, your flying laps should be even faster, if you don't start coasting. But we were actually doing drills to help boost our endurance. One of them, I forgot what we called it, but it was you start skating and then you're told, okay, skate at 80% of what you think is your fastest capacity. Now take it down to 10. Now take it up to 40. Now take it to 30. Now take it to 75. Now you're varying your speed constantly. So what's happening is, if you're skating at 30% of your capacity and you're told to ramp it up to 90 or even 100%, you're sprinting like mad. You are sprinting like crazy. I've done these kind of drills before at hard too. We used to do one where you would sprint for 1 minute, then coast for a minute, then you'd sprint for 2 minutes and coast for 2 minutes. The idea being that if you're regulating your speed like that, you're building up your endurance, and you do. But yeah, when you're told go 100% and you're skating along at 30%, you got to sprint like mad. And then once you get up to speed, then you got to keep moving as hard as you can until you're told to ramp it down a little bit. And the problem I have is I kind of know what my top speed is, but it's hard for me to determine what 60% of that is. So normally I just go like really, really fast or kind of fast, medium speed, and I start slowing it down. And there's a couple of times we'd be skating along at like 80% of the set. The coach would go, bring it down to 20. And he just like, you just get your foot out and start plowing like crazy to bring your speed down. And then once you're down, you're taking up to 70. So it's like, but yeah, building up endurance. It's one of the things we're doing currently is we're learning how to hit and we're learning how to build up our endurance, because the next tier 3, that's when we get into like, hey, now you got to do your 27.5 for legit. Yeah. So you want to build up your endurance, you want to build up your speed. That's why we're doing like all these 1 lap in under 13 seconds, 5 laps in 1 minute, that sort of stuff. We're doing that. And hitting. Yeah. We're not. We're kind of. I was kind of doing like controlled hitting, leaning, and that's always a lot of fun. And again, it's stuff that I've already done, so I have to be kind of careful. That I don't mess up other tots when I'm doing it. But yeah, it's coming along. I like it. I like the stepped process I'm going through right now. It's something I really didn't have kind of the last time. So we're going through the step process of doing things. And I don't know. Anyway, it's good. I would imagine within the next few practices, we will actually start hitting, like skate into somebody and hit them. I imagine that's coming soon. I don't know how soon, but it's coming. I'm coming up on my 20th practice. Yeah, 20 practices since Mean Girls Day, which is when I started with DDR, which was I wore all pink. I wore pink that day. I didn't wear all pink, but I wore pink that day because it was October the 3rd. And it was a Wednesday. So you better wear pink for that day. But yeah, I'm coming up on my 20th practice. It's coming soon. And you need 32 practices to officially become a member of the league. Well, I mean, I can do math. I can do math, which means after my next practice, I'll only need 12 other practices before I'm considered an official member of DDR. And I'm getting up the calendar here. So if I read this right, I will, if we don't have any issues with weather, which, like I said, we had issues with weather last week. If we don't have any issues with weather over the next month, I will hit practice 32 right around Christmas time. Yeah. right around Christmas time. So that's my goal. That's my Christmas present to myself, is to keep showing up for every practice and do that. And maybe in that time, maybe over the next month, I will actually get my 27.5 in. Now, it probably won't be what I would call a legit 27.5. But if I can skate 27 laps in 5 minutes and I can do it once, then you have, you have to repeat it. You should be able to repeat it. You're going to repeat it so that when it becomes a legitimate thing, you go with it. And I like I said, I like chasing down people while I'm doing that. It does give you something to shoot for. I find skating with other people on the track, it makes me go faster because I am chasing down people. Those are my goals. It's like when I used to do a lot of racing online, I had my wheel and my gear shifter and everything else. And we're racing, on different tracks. Most of them, since I was running GTR too, they were all road courses 99.9% of the time. And you get used to looking for marks so that, when it comes time for a turn, there's your mark. Hit the brakes, downshift, and hang a left or a right, And you got real used to doing that. You actually would develop a rhythm on how you would run certain courses. It was like whenever I would run Spa, really, it got to the point where I knew exactly where to start braking, where to start downshifting, when to actually turn. And even like if I didn't see my mark exactly, or I'd see the mark come up and it's like, now you got to start. But there was a couple of times, like when I did the 24 hours of Spa race, which I did not drive for 24 hours straight. It actually took me about 2 weeks to finish the race. When I did the 24 hours of Spa race on the computer, there was one point where I lost my headlights. Not long after I got topped off for fuel. Well, I could have went back in the pits and had my lights fixed. And I decided, no. I get 22 laps on a tank of fuel, and I'd already run 2. So I said, I'm just going to run 20 laps with no lights. Because there were actually sections of the track where you could run without lights. But there were a lot of sections of the track that it was dark. And, the computer modeled that greatly. It made it difficult to see what you were doing. But I was so used to running the track at that point, it was just like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And I slowed it up a little bit to get through the track. But I actually did. I only lost like 2 positions running without lights. That's really how it went. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of nerve-wracking, too. I once had to run the entire 24 hours of Spa in the rain. It rained the whole 24 hours, and that was a pain in the ass. Yeah, and I remember something that Robbie Gordon had said. He said, when you're driving in the rain, you kind of slow everything down. You actually reduce all your movements by about half. So like when you're turning the wheel, you don't turn it sharp, you turn it like this. And that was how I actually got through that race, because that was what I did. I just reduced everything. I would not hit the gas as hard. I would not hit the brakes as hard. I would not downshift as hard. You start looking for your mark ahead of time and you start reacting from that. And I won that race. It took 600 laps. But I won that race. Yeah, those 24-hour races were always a pain in the butt. But I loved them. It took me a while to get through a 24-hour race. I think I actually either wrecked or blew up my car in the first 7 or 8 24-hour races I ever did. And the one that was the most frustrating was running the 24 hours of Le Mans with 8 hours to go. I had already run 16 hours. And with 8 hours to go, I blew the engine on the straightaway, on the main straight. Man, that's crazy. You drive for 16 hours straight and then you blow your engine. I had a horrible wreck at Spa one time, 8 hours into the race. In the middle of the night, I flipped the car. But getting back to a derby, I kind of use people on the track like my marks. And it's like, okay, go hit that mark up there now. Go hit that mark. Now go hit that mark. Now go hit that mark. And it gives you something to shoot for. I always like that. So, but hitting, we're getting into hitting. It's gonna be hitting time. It's coming. It's coming, baby. Shh, quiet, baby. Quiet, baby. Yeah, can't wait. And I think this week we actually get to go over the rules. One of the refs is coming in, and he's going to take us over the rules, which is, again, something I've already went through, but it's always a lot of fun because rules change. And next year, there's going to be a couple of big rule changes on WFDA for playing. So we'll see how that goes. And I will probably end up covering those a little bit. One is going to be like massive. One is going to be a massive rule change. I expect to see a lot of jammers heading for the penalty box the first few bouts out because, it's really going to affect how everyone plays. But I think it's going to hit jammers particularly hard. So we'll see. So much fun. It was like I had Thanksgiving. I went to a Thanksgiving dinner. It was the first Thanksgiving dinner I had actually attended since going back to Indiana in 2014. So it was my first one in 4 years. And of course, I talked science fiction and derby. And the one friend I went with, she was like, "Don't get her started. Don't get her started." And they got me started. So, but as one person kept asking, is like, "I can remember back in the old days." Yeah, I can remember back in the old days too. I was there. It was like, oh, you threw elbows and stuff like that. And I said, we can't do that anymore. That was back in the days when it really was a sport, but it wasn't like a legitimate sport. When you go back to like the 60s and stuff, it was a sport, but was there really a sanctioning body? No, there wasn't. And now there is. Now we have a sanctioning body. And as I told one of my guests Thursday, I said, we're a legitimate worldwide sanctioned sport. I mean, we're no different than Major League Baseball or the National Football League. We are a worldwide sanctioned sport. So, that's one of the reasons why I go through MSRs is because you have to pass all these benchmarks in order to play because the sanctioning body says you have to do this. It's not like back in the day when there was no sanctioning body and it was like, here's a helmet, here's some pads, let me see you skate around. Oh, you skate real good. Guess who's the jammer this weekend? And you go out there and you get killed. You'd also catch an elbow in the face and break your nose. And it used to be kind of Wild West, even when everything currently started back in the early 2000s. Early 2000s, geez. Make it sound so old. Yeah, when everything started, like bank track started back up, and then it got into flat track in the early 2000s. Um, it was kind of Wild West, and then that was one of the reasons why a sanctioning body came into play, because they didn't want it to be so Wild West anymore. So the sanctioning body came into play, and then the sanctioning body began to lay out rules. You know, baseball and football went through the same stuff. I mean, there was a point in college football where President Teddy Roosevelt damn near outlawed college football because athletes were actually dying while playing the game. And I forget what game it was, but there was a famous incident where a guy he died from like a broken neck or some shit during a college football game because he got clotheslined. And he got clotheslined. And Roosevelt called in like all these heads of different colleges and basically said, look, if you don't get this organized, I'm going to shut you down. And that's basically how the NCAA came to be, was because Roosevelt said, I'm going to shut you down if you don't get this organized. And, baseball was like that. Football was like that. Basketball was like that. Every sport that starts out has like a limited set of rules under which they play. And as time goes on, they begin to realize that, hey, when a guy is playing basketball and he's running up to the hoop, you can't throw your fist out there and clock him in the face. And early basketball was really kind of monotonous. It really was. Low scoring games were the norm. I mean, like 30 to 25, seriously, because it was all defense. You basically kept the other players from getting into a position where they could shoot. And it was almost all shooting. There was like no layups and stuff like that. It was all shooting. Early basketball was a lot of white Jewish dudes who didn't want to play contact sports. That's true. That's actually kind of true. There were a lot of your early basketball players were white Jewish dudes who didn't want to play contact sports. So that's how basketball came. And then they changed the rules to make it a bit more lively because, people didn't want to sit there and watch guys just go back and forth and like, oh, shoot. Oh, I didn't make it. Okay, get the ball. Dribble, shoot. Didn't make it. Dribble. That's how it went. And that's actually how the 30-second shot clock came into play, because you'd get a team that would just stand on one. So our sport is the same way. There's stuff that we used to do that we don't do anymore, like clotheslining. There was a time when you could clothesline someone on the track. You can't do that nowadays. Or throw an elbow. If you do that nowadays, not only will you go to the penalty box, you probably will get ejected from the game. And definitely if you clothesline someone, you're getting ejected. You are. Like we always got told, my first league, if someone starts throwing punches at you, just cover up and duck. Don't throw a punch back. Because if you throw a punch back, you'll get ejected along with the person who starts fighting. So, if you just like cover up, that's it. I was always like, I'm not throwing a punch at somebody who's wearing a helmet. Why would you throw a punch at someone who's wearing a helmet? I know people have done it. I mean, it happens in hockey all the time. I'm just going to punch this dude. Oh, I hit his helmet. Oh, I hit it again. I know in NASCAR, Michael Waltrip, I forgot who the driver was he retaliated against, but they were having a rough night out on the track. And as the game was as the game as the race was over, and they were pulling into pit row, he stopped his car, and the other guy just kind of like ran into the back of him. He got out of his car, went back to the other driver, and he punched him twice. Now, he was fined $10,000 for 2 punches, so $5,000 a punch. But he said what was really stupid was they were still both in their gear, because you're not allowed to take off your helmet until your car is shut off. So they're still both in gear. So he said, basically, I punched a dude twice in his helmet, which wasn't the smartest thing in the world. It was just like, boom, boom. Yeah, you're hitting a guy in a helmet. You're going to do more damage to your hand than you're going to do to the guy's head. So you don't really see fights in Derby. I think a lot of it is because, yeah, I'm wearing a helmet. Do you really want to punch me? No. And I wear a hockey helmet too. You know, I wear a hockey helmet for just a little extra support and protection. Because at my age, I can't afford to get my brain rattled around. I will. But yeah, if someone threw a punch at me, I'd just like cover up or take it and fall down and lay on the ground. Just cover up like that. I don't think anybody will ever want to get into a fight with me. I have never seen a fight in Derby. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. But again, this is not the bad old days of even like 8 years ago where I know like the Chicago team, one of their trademarks was in the last like 2 minutes of a bout, they would start a fight with the refs. Yeah. That today would just get your league shut down if you started a fight with the refs. Yeah, that's not a smart thing to do. Yeah. You don't want to start a fight with the refs. No. As you know, the one thing refs can do is just not show up for your bout. And if you don't have refs for your bout, you're not going to have a bout. Your bout's going to get canceled. That happens enough. No one's going to want to play you. So, yeah, those are the bad old days. You call it the bad old days. I've seen video of it. There was, I think it was on Amazon. Amazon had a video about teams in Milwaukee. And that was one of the things that one of the women talked about, was that she had been on the Chicago team back in the 2010. And that was where they actually originated the term "eat the baby." Yeah, look that up. But she said, yeah, last 2 minutes of every bout, they would start a fight. That was how they always ended every bout, was they'd start a fight. And they would actually fight with the refs. It was show. So we don't do that. We're a sport. We really are. And that was how I explained it at Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah. So where I had to explain what I was also thankful for. And the thing I'm really thankful for this year, well, the thing I'm thankful for this year is I actually got to attend Thanksgiving. Yeah, there was a point earlier in the year where I don't know if I was going to be here for Thanksgiving. And you know what I mean by be here. Yeah, like be here above ground. So that was what I was thankful for. But yeah, I got to talk Doctor Who. Yesterday was the 55th anniversary of Doctor Who starting. And got to talk science fiction. The husband who was one of our hosts, he just happened to be a big fan of Arthur Clarke, which of course I'm a big fan of Arthur Clarke. So we talked about that. And then people wanted me to explain how Derby is played. So I did. I not only did that, I told them my Derby name. Yeah. So no, you don't get to learn what it is yet. It's coming. It's coming. You will learn. But yeah, like I say, I'm getting closer every day. Have a far more positive attitude about playing and getting my 27.5. And the fact I got 5.5 laps in 1 minute, I was like, yeah, now if I could just keep that up. The next thing to do would be if I could time 2 minutes and do 11 laps. If I could do 11 laps in 2 minutes and see how I feel after that. Because I'm doing over 25 now, and I don't feel that winded when I'm done. So I know I can push a little harder and probably get to 26 and a half. You know, that's what I want to do. Okay. So 55 minutes and 40 seconds. You know what that means? It's time to stop. And I will be here again next week. Yes, I will. I will be here. So I don't know what I'll have to say, but I'll have something to say, and I'll see you then. So take care, everybody. Bye.